friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and I'm back again with another video. This time I'm setting up my husband's bullet journal for January 2019. Don't forget to stick around to the end of the video for my monthly giveaway. So this month in my husband's bullet journal, I am doing an Apollo theme. If you're not familiar with the Apollo program, it was designed to land humans on the moon and bring them safely back to Earth, and ran from 1963 to 1972. 6 of the Apollo missions achieved their goal: Apollos 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And Apollo 11 is probably the one you have heard the most about because that is the one that landed the first human on the moon in 1969. As you probably know from watching my videos, my husband and I are both big nerds. We both love space and we love sci-fi, but something I haven't really gotten into in my life is the Apollo missions. I've never spent a lot of time watching videos about them or learning about them for whatever reason, but my husband finds them fascinating and loves the moon. If he had a choice, he would definitely be living on the moon right now. So this month is completely dedicated to Jason's love of space and the moon and the Apollo missions. For the cover page, I decided to write January in the classic NASA font. And then 2019 is based on an image that NASA put out for Apollo 11, where the O's in Apollo were depicted as the Earth and the moon, and then they had the flight path leaving Earth's orbit, coming around, swinging around the moon, and landing. And when we saw that, we thought it was super cool, so I decided to repurpose that idea and make it fit in with 2019. So of course the 0 is Earth, and then the circular part of the 9 is the moon. You'll see this theme is very minimalistic. Everything is black and white, essentially only done with a pen, so it's very easy to do. You don't need a lot of materials, but you can still really get that space feel. After the cover page, I'm moving on to the monthly spread, setting it up as I always do with 6x6 boxes for each day. Down the side, I'm writing January 2019, again in that NASA font, and then the days of the week along the top. I then decided to recreate an Apollo logo from the 60s. This is, I believe, the official logo of the Apollo missions from that time. So the font I did is not exact, but I tried to replicate the look of this logo as much as I could in a very tiny version. And of course, again, only in black and white. So the basic logo is a large A, and then it shows the moon and the Earth, and again, that flight path coming around. This one took me a while to do because it had such fine detail, so I was using my Sakura Microns, and then I went back in after with my Sakura white Jelly Roll gel pen to bring back some lightness to areas that I filled in a little too much with the pen. This is a great tip in general if you are doing a black and white sort of drawing and you find that you've colored in places that you shouldn't, made mistakes. You can always go in with a gel pen or some other kind of white pen or marker to kind of fix those mistakes. So now I am moving on to the weekly spreads, which are very similar to what I have done in Jason's bullet journal in the past. As I've explained a couple times before, Jason is a freelancer, so he needs space to track his hours and clients so that he can create invoices for the work he does. So that is the main basis of his weeklies. There is space for each day of the week to write down his hours, places he has to be, and then there's space for tracking his hours worked and income. And then the other side of the spread is just a blank page for notes, and then he has another full empty spread after that for notes as well in the week, so he ends up getting 3 total pages for notes for each week. There is one little change on his weeklies this time around. We've added an extra column, so you can see along the left side there is one thin column along each day's tracker, and that is for him to track whether or not he is invoiced for those hours. So I'll explain this again quickly for anyone who has not seen my previous Plan With Me's in my husband's bullet journal, which will be linked if you want to go watch them. So essentially each day you have 4 rows total. The first 3 rows are space for 3 separate clients in a day, and then the 4th row is for totals. Looking at the columns, the left column is for checking off whether or not these have been invoiced. The second column is to indicate which client the work is for. The third column is for how many hours worked for that client. And then the fourth column is for the total amount earned in those hours. And then the totals are for total hours worked and total income for that day. And then at the bottom of the week, we have an extra totals line for total hours worked in the week and total income made in the week. So that extra column is just to track whether or not these hours have been invoiced, which is something Jason decided he needed after using his bullet journal for a couple months. And that's one of the best things about bullet journals, in my opinion, is that you can completely change your system from top to bottom if it doesn't work for you, but you can also make little tweaks here and there to really make it work for your life. And there's no one saying you can't, and it's as easy as drawing your spread differently next time. All of the weeklies are the same, so I won't show the setup of weeks 2 through 5, but I will show you the little drawings I'm doing in the corner. The first drawing for week 1 is an astronaut looking up to the stars. The second drawing I'm doing is a recreation of a classic NASA logo from the 60s. I wasn't super happy with how this turned out when I first filled it in with pen, so I ended up going back in with my Posca white paint pen to brighten up some of the areas, thicken up the letters, and just kind of fix the spacing because I honestly didn't do a great job of filling this in, which is a great chance for me to remind everyone that mistakes happen. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake, and there are lots of creative ways you can use to fix mistakes, and no one will ever know. Next, I'm drawing a plan of Gemini. This is taken from a NASA reference book from the 60s. I tried to recreate this drawing as closely as I could because it was a really, really cool graphic drawing with Gemini and reference book kind of written into the plan. It was really cool looking, so I did my best to recreate that. Gemini technically is not part of Apollo. It was the mission right before Apollo. And Gemini's objective was the development of space travel techniques to support the Apollo mission to land humans on the moon. So while it's not technically part of the Apollo missions, it definitely was foundational to the existence of the Apollo missions and the success of the Apollo missions. So I decided to include this, especially just because when Jason saw this diagram, he thought it was super cool. He really likes these kinds of patent and interior plan drawings of ships. He actually has a interior plan rocket ship tattoo on his side, and this is very him and very me as well. I love drawing interior plans and diagrams of things. So this just had to be included, even though it technically is not actually from the Apollo missions. Next up on week 4, I am drawing or trying to recreate the Grumman logo from the 60s. The Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation was a producer of military and civilian aircraft. So they actually designed and built the Apollo lunar module, which was a spacecraft that was flown to and landed on the moon. This was definitely a bit of a complicated logo to recreate, but it is super cool, so I was happy to try. And then on to week 5, our last drawing here. This is another original Apollo logo that was on a lot of their reference materials from the 60s. A lot of the internal NASA reference materials had this Apollo logo in the corner, so I did my best to recreate this as accurately as I could. A lot of these logos originally had some kind of color going on, and I just decided to keep everything black and white and very simple for this setup. But this logo originally had red and yellow in it. It was very cool looking. I highly recommend you go Google some of this stuff if you're interested in it. It's very cool to look at. And the very last spread that we have in this month is actually a new spread, and it is a honey-do list. So Jason actually asked me to add this to his bullet journal for last month, and we both completely forgot. So I'm adding it now for January. And this is essentially a master to-do list. We're calling it the honey-do list, but it's not just things that I'm asking him to do. It's also just whatever comes to mind that he needs to get done. It's kind of one place to collect all of those tasks. And as you all know, I love a good to-do list, and I love a good master to-do list just to combine everything that's on my mind so I can make sure I'm not forgetting anything, especially if it's something that doesn't need to be done in the next week or couple weeks, and I want to make sure I don't forget about it. So now that we've gone through all the spreads, it is time to talk about the giveaway. And this month I'm really excited to be giving away both a notebook and a pen to act as a little bit of a starter kit for any of you who want to start bullet journaling in 2019, but maybe don't have a notebook to use or don't have the resources to get yourself one. So I've never actually used this type of notebook, but I've been really intrigued by it. They sell it at Curry's, the artist store downtown Toronto, which is where I buy a lot of my supplies. And I've been really intrigued by it multiple times, but just haven't needed a new notebook recently, so I never bought one to check them out. But I decided this would be a great time to do it. I could give it to one of you. It looks like it's incredible, and I'm really excited to hear from whichever one of you wins it, to hear your thoughts. And of course, if the rest of you who don't win are interested in learning a bit more about this specific notebook, let me know. I can always pick up another one and do a review video. So this one is the Pentalic Traveler Pocket Journal. It has a dot grid, 5mm spacing between the dots, which is pretty standard in bullet journals. It has completely recycled paper, which is 120 GSM, which is pretty thick. So hopefully whoever wins this won't have any issues with bleeding or ghosting. It has 160 pages. The pages are acid-free, slightly toothy, recycled bright white sketch paper, and the cover is an Italian-made flexible water-resistant cover. There's also an elastic closure and a ribbon marker. As for the pen, I am giving away the Le Pen Drawing Technical Drawing Pen in 0.3. This is one that I've been using in my notebook reviews recently for pen tests, and I found that it's done really well at being one of the least smudgeable pens that I own. And I've actually started using it recently in my bullet journal on a day-to-day basis and really love how it performs and love the nib size. I just think it's a very versatile, basic pen to have in your kit and a really good one to start bullet journaling with. It's fine enough that you can get some really detailed work out of it, but it's not so fine that it'll take you forever if you're trying to do something a little more bold. So I'm really excited about this prize pack this month, and I hope you all are too. I'm going to give you a super quick rundown of the rules, but as always, they will be written in the description box if you need to double check. Make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel and hit the bell so you're notified when I post new videos. Like this video, go follow me on Instagram, and lastly, leave a comment on this video. It can be whatever you like, but just make sure you include your Instagram handle so that I can find you if you win. If you don't have Instagram but you still want to enter, you can follow me on any of my other social media. You can like my Facebook page or follow me on Pinterest, whatever you like, whatever kind of social media you have. I know not everyone has Instagram and you still want the chance to win, so I completely hear you. No problem at all. Just pick another social media and let me know the handle from that social media that you followed me on and which social media you picked so that I can still keep track of you if you do win. Thank you again so much to my patrons. I appreciate you so much. If you're interested in becoming a patron and grabbing a bunch of awesome rewards, make sure to check out the link in the description or the cards to come join the Plant-Based Bride patron squad. Don't forget to go check out my plan with me in my bullet journal if you haven't seen it already. I did a letterboard theme for January and I'm so in love with how it turned out. It took forever, but it was very fun. So definitely go check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. And as always, leave all of your recommendations in the comments for themes you want to see in 2019. I'm currently trying to kind of plan out all the themes I'm going to do in my journal and in Jason's bullet journal for 2019. So be sure to leave your recommendations in the comments. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video in 2019. Bye, friends.